Okay, so today your Emerge 360 presenters are myself. I am with Emerge 360, which is a division of TrustPoint. Brenna and Brett couldn't be here today. Unfortunately, they had a couple things come up, so it will just be me for this webinar today. So just a quick overview of who TrustPoint and Emerge 360 are. So TrustPoint is a company that's been around for over 110 years. We are headquartered in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So we are a Midwest company. We have about 100 employees and we work with about 1,200 client relationships and have about 3,700 individual accounts. So we are a small company that we can do some education and services for all of our 401k participants, but we also offer a lot of additional services as well, such as trust and estate administration. We work with individuals, we work with foundations and nonprofits. So a lot of different resources we're able to provide all of you. So the agenda for today, we are going to kick it off with the new limits for 2026. Then we'll touch base on some new year tasks that you can kind of keep in the front of your mind. And then we'll go through a handful of resources that are available to all of you. So the new limits for 2026. So 401ks offer the most amount of money that you're able to save for retirement. These are the most productive vehicle to save for retirement. So you can see the amounts listed there. If you are under 50, you can contribute 24,500 to your 401k. If you are above 50, there's a catch-up contribution. And then if you're between the ages of 60 and 63, there's a special age there where you're able to do super catch-up contributions. So again, the most productive vehicle to get some retirement savings into that account. And then IRAs. So IRAs have a separate limit. So you are able to max out your 401k, and then you can also max out your IRA. IRAs have a little bit lower contribution limits. So you'll see that individuals under the age of 50 are able to contribute up to $7,500 in 2026. And then individuals over 50 are able to contribute that catch-up contribution as well. No super catch-up contribution for IRAs. And then also just a note that there are certain income limits for tax deductibility for traditional IRAs, and then also income limits for contributing to Roth IRAs. So there's different methods and ways we can go about getting around some of these limits and different tactics we can do there. So if you have questions on that or you are curious about learning more, feel free to reach out to us and we're happy to help. So the new limits in regards to traditional IRAs, so the income limitations for receiving that tax deduction. You can see all of the amounts listed here. So single taxpayers are, there's a phase out between $81,000 and $91,000. Married taxpayers filing jointly and participating in employer plans, there's that phase out range there. And then married taxpayer filing jointly not covered by an employer plan, there's that phase out range there as well. And then there's also new limits for Roth IRA contributions. So if you are a single filer or head of household, that phase out range is $153,000 to $168,000. And then married joint filers, there's that phase out range there as well, $242,000 to $252,000. So HSAs, just a brief overview of HSAs for anyone that doesn't know. If you are participating in a high deductible health care plan, you may have the option to contribute to what's called an HSA or a health savings account. So these are some really great buckets that you can put your money into because they are triple tax advantaged. So you put the money in tax free, the account grows and grows tax free. And then when you take a distribution, as long as it's for qualified medical expenses, those distributions are also tax free. So, again, a great benefit if you have that with your company. And those contribution amounts roll over as well if you're not using them. So, be sure to take advantage of these. So, HSAs under the age of 55, there's those limits there. And then HSA age 55 plus, there's catch-up contributions on that side as well. And then limits for gifting in 2026. So the gift tax limit has not changed. Those have stayed the same at 19,000 and 38,000. And then you are able to gift unlimited to your spouse or qualified charities. And then the 15 million lifetime estate and gift tax, this has increased and been made permanent. So a great change there as well. So now we'll get into some new year tasks. So what kinds of things can you be thinking about in the new year in regards to your finances? So the first thing to kind of keep in mind and take a look at is your budget. So if you have a budget set up, a good practice is to make sure that it kind of aligns with some of these uh, portions here. So you want to make sure that your needs are about 50% of your budget. So that includes housing, any groceries, medical expenses, transportation, debt payments. Any wants should not exceed 30% of your budget. So think of clothing, restaurants and bars, travel, entertainment. And then we always want to try to get savings up to 20% of our budget. So if you have a budget set up already and you are working towards these guidelines, try to increase the savings portion of your budget by 1% or as much as you can year over year to get to that 20% range. If you have never made a budget before, the beginning of the year is a great time to start. We always recommend that people kind of take a look at what you're actually spending because we do financial planning with a lot of people and they think they're spending X, but they're actually spending a lot more. And to make sure that you're able to retire in the future, knowing how much you actually spend can be a great and powerful tool. So if you haven't ever created a budget before, try to take a look at your expenses from the past. I know credit cards tend to track some of those things, or try to track your spending for a month and see where you end up. So the next thing you want to make sure that you take a look and update is your beneficiaries. So these are super, super important to keep up to date because these override a will. So if your 401k, let's say, says that you want your first two kids to receive all of your assets, but your will says you want all four of your kids to receive your assets. Unfortunately, when we are processing those distributions after you pass away, we have to follow what your 401k beneficiaries would say. So we legally have to distribute to those two kids and wouldn't be able to distribute per your will to all four kids. So super, super important to keep up to date. Some good life changes that you can keep in mind when updating this is marriage, divorce, new children, and death. But a good time to look at it too is just the new year, just to make sure that everything is correct and on track. And then if you have any bank accounts as well, you can list payable on death designations on those and just make sure that those are updated every year as well. And then an emergency fund. So we mentioned savings a little bit earlier during that budgeting portion of the webinar, but an emergency funding is a good place to increase those savings as well. So if you are earlier in your career and you're still working, your spouse is still working, you should probably have between 3 to 6 months of living expenses in an emergency fund. So this should be in a liquid account, so a checking or a savings account, and it should just be used for emergencies if anything comes up. So not necessarily that your car still works perfectly fine and you want to buy a brand new car. That's probably not an emergency, but if your car broke down and you needed to purchase a new car, maybe the emergency fund would come into play there. So if you're still in your earlier years, still working, 3 to 6 months of living expenses is good to keep in a liquid account. If you are in retirement or nearing retirement, we like to recommend 12 months of living expenses in liquid savings. As the markets go up and down, it's best to have 12 months of your expenses in cash so that you can avoid taking a bunch of money out at once if needed. And then if you have already filled up your emergency fund and you're already saving enough for retirement, then another type of account that would be great to save in is a second tier level of savings account. So if you want to save up for a car purchase down the road, or if you want to save up for a wedding down the road, or things like that, you might want to consider a brokerage account where you can invest in that account as well. So a couple different tactics where you can kind of keep these and how you can invest some of these different buckets. But if you have any questions on that, we're happy to help. And then we just wanted to remind everyone as well that you are able to fund your IRA for 2025 up until April 15th, 2026. So IRA contributions are, you're able to make those up until the tax filing deadline. So make sure that if you haven't made your 2025 contributions, that you get those taken care of. In 2025, the limits were $7,000 if you're under 50, and then $8,000 if you're over the age of 50. And then another thing to keep in mind is increasing your retirement savings. So we always recommend that you start where you can. Try to get that employer match if you have it, and start where you can. Start as early as you can. We recommend you eventually get up to 10 to 15% of your income being saved for retirement purposes. So try to increase your retirement savings when you can, even if it's just by 1%. If you get a raise in the beginning of the year, that's a great time to think, oh, I could increase my retirement savings or my retirement contributions by 1%. If you pay off debt, that's another great chance to get those retirement savings increased. And just try to implement a strategy that takes the emotion out of it. So again, if you receive those annual raises, that's probably one of the best times and one of the most emotionless times that you can increase those contributions. And it really does pay to make those changes over time. So we have a couple different people here. So we have one individual who contributed 2% of his pay each year and never increased that percentage. We also have another individual, and this person increased their deferral by 1% each year until they reached 10%. So you can see just how much that 1% difference really pays off in the long run. We see that Jamie, who was increasing by 1%, has over $300,000 more than Jordan when they reached retirement after 30 years. So really try to increase those contributions, stay invested, and you'll be thankful you did. And this is just an example of increasing your retirement savings. So the baseline is an individual that is 40 years old, a $50,000 salary, uh, $50,000 401k, and a 7% annualized return. So they kept their contribution rate at 5% until they reached age 65. So you can see that the account value at age 65 is $435,000. So this is another scenario where the person started at 5% and they increased their contributions by 1% until they attained a 15% contribution rate. So you can see that they have a lot more money in retirement at age 65 by just increasing those contributions. So again, try to start where you can. If it's just 5%, if it's just 3%, if it's just 1%, and increase those contributions every year and try to get up to that 15%. So now we'll go through a couple different resources if you are interested in learning more about Emerge 360 and some of the things that we do. So we recently came out with our Trust Point magazine. So if you haven't had a chance to grab your copy yet, this magazine has a lot of different resources and articles. Everything has been written by employees of Trust Point, and so you should really check that out and grab your copy today. So feel free to scan that QR code to request your copy. And then we also wanted to highlight our Her Point community. So we have created these different Her Point events and education and experiences specifically tailored towards women. So we are hoping to empower women and help them with their financial confidence. So if you are interested in learning more about what that's all about, there is another QR code for you to scan there. And then we've also got a monthly newsletter. So if you are interested in receiving Emerge 360's monthly newsletter, you might already be signed up if you received this event today. But if you are not already signed up, feel free to sign up and you'll receive more information on some of these events in the future. And then how can Emerge 360 help? So we help a lot of different individuals. So we are a team dedicated to provide education to our 401k participants. And we provide education to all of you as well. But we also have an individual platform. So if you have a need for someone to kind of take a look at your finances as a whole, Emerge 360 might be something to keep in mind. If you've ever tried to request a rollover, or you're confused if you have Roth or pre-tax in your 401k, or you're just questioning whether you have enough money to retire or if you're saving enough money, these are some of the things that our financial planning can help you to get clarity on. So our financial planning process is complementary with the Emerge 360 relationship if you were to open an account with us. And that financial planning piece allows you to enter all of your assets, your expenses, any debt you have, your goals, and it maps everything out in a really nice and visual way to allow you to kind of see where you're at right now and if there's any tweaks that need to be made to allow you to achieve your goals and retire on time. So if you are interested in the Emerge 360 platform at all, we have a $50,000 relationship minimum, but that's between any investment accounts that you have with us. So between yourself, your spouse, things like that. So if you're interested, feel free to schedule that meeting with us and we'd be happy to talk through it a little bit further with you. Awesome. So thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, we will be sending the recording of today's session out. So if you are receiving our emails, be on the lookout for that recording. And then if you did have any questions as we were going through today, please reach out to myself. I am happy to discuss further some of these different items with you. And then don't forget to check out our website. I mentioned that we have a lot of different resources, and you can find a lot of these items on our website as well. In the meantime, if you're looking for any additional information on us, we're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. So a lot of different resources. And really, our goal is to help you all learn and understand finances better. So our website is updated with new information at least weekly. So just be sure to check out all of the resources that we can provide to you. And then finally, we just want to welcome the chance to help those that you care about. So if you know someone or if you yourself have questions about retirement, estate, investment questions, anything finance related at all, please just reach out to us. We are happy to help and happy to talk through it, take a look at things with you, and just get you on a path to financial clarity. So thank you again for joining us and have a great rest of your day.